This is TalkSense Media. Now in the news, man killed by police in the Old Harbour, 292 murders recorded up to June 9th, and a murder-free day in Jamaica. A man known as Chip Chop was shot and killed by the police in the Old Harbour over the weekend. According to police reports, Wheatley, otherwise called Chip Chop, was fatally shot during an operation in Red Ground district of Old Harbour, St. Catherine South. A firearm was reportedly seized. Now, this shooting brings the number of people killed by the security forces in 2025 to 141. Also in the news, Minister Chang reports steady decline in severe violence in Jamaica. Now, Dr. Chang says if the current pattern holds, the country could see well below 800 murders for 2025. Speaking with Nationwide News Cliff Hughes on Monday, Dr. Chang credited the continued reduction in the country's murder rate on the work of the police in disrupting gangs with continued backing from the Andrew Holness administration. He reported that between January 1 and Monday, June 9th, 292 murders were recorded. That's 231 fewer than the 523 murders recorded for the same period in 2024. Overall, major crimes are down by 20%. Dr. Chang says this reduction represents a nationwide trend.
It's a national trend. In fact, I checked today, but last week we only had 2 parishes out of 9, and they were the 2 of the traditional safe parishes. So the numbers were pretty minimal. I think we had an incident in Portland where 2 Haitians of the illegal immigrants had an incident, and one murdered one the other. This friend murdered the other one, so you have 2 over last year. And in St. Mary, we have 1 in excess of last year. So that's the number, and that's also a parish which has, I think, 112 murders. So they are not major crime centers. All the major crime centers and they are down, significantly down. Like St. James about 65% below. Western is somewhere in the 50s below. Clarendon is way down. And South St. Andrew was the one giving some trouble, but they're still below. I think they were tying at once, they're just below what they were last year.
Meanwhile, Dr. Chang says the government is providing the necessary support to the Jamaica Constabulary Force to ensure that the country sustains the reductions in murder.
The critical issue I found was they maintain the numbers of police officers in training. So I've had a wider scope of training. Besides the basic training, we have had training intelligence officers, we're training high potential investigative officers, and across the board, including the drivers and in terms of defense driving. Across the board, we have initiated, and then of course you have the formation on the logistic formation under Deputy Commissioner Karina Powell, which provides the support for a number of things, including the technology development and the station management. So just maintaining our activity to ensure that we can take the entire police force and institution to a new level.
Dr. Chang also stated that the police are doing their job and they're doing so with confidence.
Ensure the police is confident that we're not going to invest and stop halfway. The Special Operations West, where we need far more police officers, and it's costing us a significant amount of rental in buildings that are not suitable. We are proceeding to get a Special Operations base, which had redesigned, and it will cost about $11 billion. All these are going through the Public Investment Assessment Board and going through successfully so they can have confidence in what we're doing. And critically, we have ensured that the Commissioner remains in charge of operations, police operations. We don't interfere. We articulate our policy, inform me of his approach, and we have had no problem in proceeding along those lines. I think the men feel empowered to carry out their job.
He was speaking on Nationwide at 5 on Monday. So the divisions with the highest number of murders this year is St. Andrew South, followed by St. Catherine South, and Trelawney had a downturn, seeing only 5 murders since January. Other crimes also show a downward trend, with rape cases declining by 69. But despite the progress, robberies increased by 10 and break-ins rose by 76. So essentially, what we see happening here is that there's a shift in criminal activities. And finally in the news, on Sunday, June the 8th, Jamaica recorded no murders for the entire day. A rare yet welcoming development. So this announcement was made by Assistant Commissioner of Police Christopher Phillips, head of Police Area 5, during the funeral of 9-year-old Kelsey Farragon in Spanish Town, St. Catherine. ACP Phillips used the moment to reflect on the broader message, which is crime cannot flourish in a community that cares. But while this one day of peace is commendable, we have to place it in context. And the question is, can this progress be maintained? Or is it merely a temporary pause until complacency sets in by the JCF? Only time will tell. But in the meantime, let's give the police the benefit of the doubt. This is TalkSense Media, your voice of reason in the noise.